Today's guest believes not only in the family of fitness, but also that a rising tide lifts all boats. Developing communities, his selfless sharing of knowledge has brought benefits to members' bodies, minds, and even other businesses. His history in amateur and pro fighting evolved into a love of fitness and CrossFit that, when combined with his entrepreneurial talent, has led to a business model that works both in the US and overseas. Powered by passion and understanding, it's a love of teaching and taking on new challenges in every respect that earns him attention and repeated success in every location. Please join me in welcoming JP, CEO and founder of BRIC Fitness, to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Thank you for inviting me here and thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
I was saying I came here in your early days, and my brother and I, we came whenever we were in a show, we'd come here and sort of jump in, and I always remember we sort of walked around the back, and it was a CrossFit at the time, and I remember we asked the question, why is there this combat place in the back? And there's a story to that, isn't there? Why you've got this sort of room in here?
Yeah. We have our back alley fight club here. We don't really talk about it, as you know, but no, in all seriousness, really this was the O2 or the branch connection to how I originally kind of started in this world. Much of my story, outside of such a great intro as you gave me, so thank you for that, really was that coming from the amateur and pro stand-up fight game background, I was fortunate to get into commercialized kickboxing locations early on through another really crazy random story that led me into that world. And as I saw some success in that and then chose to move back to LA and get into this functional fitness world, it was important for me to keep the core of what I was so passionate about from the beginning. I didn't want to lose that. And I wanted my team and the original members that would seed my new community to understand this is where it all started, so they could catch that, as opposed to just walking in one day to a big, at the time, what was considered to be a fancy CrossFit gym and not understand this is how we got here.
Yeah, and that's how I remember it. It was always a place that people, I'm from the UK, and it was a name that people talked about, and they said, you got to go and see BRIC. So you managed to create something that stood out, I guess, for quite overseas as well.
Yeah, people ask me how I did that, and I don't like to say luck, right? Although there is some of that. And if you ask me, well, what does luck mean? And you could then get into the other catchy phrases of like when preparation meets opportunity, right? That kind of stuff. But really, it was right time. You could open up BRIC today in this exact same location and probably not see the same type of success, right? Because there's an abundance of fitness in LA now. Everybody's a celebrity trainer. Social media has everybody thinking there's a celebrity Instagrammer, and it's just different times. When I opened up early on, to get the kind of notoriety we did early by making it to the CrossFit Games 6 months after we opened, kind of being known as this weird Hollywood gym that had structured outfits and uniforms and all this kind of stuff, really kind of set us apart at the time. We were one of the few that would go to regionals and have pageantry across our members. We showed up to, I guess they were actually doing sectionals. We did regionals in like Irvine or something. This is before they went to Del Mar, and 200 members showed up all wearing orange. You could show up to regionals now and that would be cool, but it wouldn't create as strong of a buzz across the community, across the industry as it did back then. Yeah. And so we were really fortunate. A lot of things really did strike right at the right time. Yeah,
but picking on that, I guess the timing was good because you were in a space, CrossFit, and where the industry was. But that wasn't an accident that you guys branded yourselves and stood out. What kind of gave you the idea to stand out and be different and to be branded? Was that something you learned as a kid, or you just instinctively felt you should do it?
So I'll create a real simple backstory and then forward into it. Later down the line, after reading like Simon Sinek's book and understanding what's your why and his whole concepts of innovators and early adapters and that type of stuff, I didn't realize that that's what I was doing then. But now I actually have ways to label it. I knew that I wanted us to be different because I saw a hole in the market. I'd already been in the martial arts industry, saw what was going wrong and tried to make that better, right? I, prior to that, was in the extreme sports industry, saw holes in the market, what was missing, and tried to make that better, and knew that I had to do the same thing here. So I knew I wasn't the innovator, as like Simon Sinek would say, right? I didn't create the search engine. I didn't create the functional fitness space. But I came in as an early adapter and then decided that I would innovate on that.
Right.
When I think what the problem is that people get into an industry and go, okay, I see a hole in the market, I'm gonna get in, and then I'm gonna do that better, and then just keep doing that. Right. And when my whole idea was I wanna get into this market, I wanna do it better, and then take what I've been doing and make it better each time around.
Right.
So it's just gonna loop like this as opposed to just going like this in hopes of growth.
Yeah. So what did you see at that time? So I'm familiar with CrossFit and I've got my view on what it is. Been around it for a long time. What did you, when you came in and you saw that and saw what other CrossFit business would do, what came into your mind?
So again, it kind of ties into coming from martial arts. When you come from a martial arts background, you're in a facility that has the highest level of protocols. The hierarchy that exists in there, it's a dictatorship. Right. A legal dictatorship in the United States. There is a master, there are his prodigies or students, and you, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, anything that's asked of you. So if you're gonna sweep, mop, clean, organize, kick 1,000 times, get punched in the face 1,000 times, it was part of the deal. You signed up for it. Now, I knew going into the CrossFit world that wouldn't exactly work, because you could try punching your members in the face 1,000 times, but they wouldn't quite get it, right? But I wanted to carry those same protocols because I thought that's what was missing. From my experience in the functional fitness facilities I was going into, they were free-for-alls. Right. Shirtless, shoeless, loud, crazy, cursing music, people, adult-type content. Listen, I'm not a stiff, but I do know that if you're trying to get a 25-year-old to work out with maybe a family of 3 or parents or a 47-year-old woman who is sensitive to these type of things, or a 47-year-old man who doesn't appreciate it, you just don't know who you might offend. Right? Even by me making that statement nowadays, I don't know who I'm going to offend. So imagine, and that's what I was trying to do, was create an environment that would be less offensive, which lowers the barrier of entry to allow more people to come in. Right. And so I said, let's create the protocols, let's create the systems and operations, let's have a hierarchy, obviously without the dictatorship, because that doesn't work as well in the corporate world, but certainly create that environment where people know there's an owner-operator, there are managers underneath them, and then there's those that are underneath them, and those that are underneath them, and people can climb that ladder through certain means of production, and everybody's happy in the world. Right.
And were you consciously saying, look, there's a business opportunity, you're an entrepreneur, and you thought if you built this, then you're going to do well and make a lot of money, or was it just you felt that if you're going to do it, you needed to do it right? Where did you see it?
So I'm a spiritual guy.
Okay.
I'm a passionate guy, but I'm not a full of shit guy. I like to talk about the real. I absolutely opened the business because I wanted means to gain greater wealth. That was one of them, right? Because with greater wealth, you can do more things that help other people. It's very hard for someone poor to donate anything other than their time. And once that runs out of value, then you got nothing, right? Maybe a good smile or a funny joke. So I knew that by wealth, I could do more for more people. So let's put that aside. Then the second component was, yes, I wanted to be able to deliver a great product. And I knew that if I delivered a great product and I saw the trend of the market, because I'd seen other industries go through similar kind of movements, that I knew I was getting in at the right time, I should say. I knew it. I knew this was the right time. I knew it wasn't a fad. I knew it wasn't going anywhere. I knew it was time to jump in it and get moving. Right.
Okay. So I'll just go back a little bit. So how did you get into the martial arts side? And then I know, you've got a successful business and you can see the good part of it, but what were some of the parts which, the lessons that we talked about earlier, which didn't go quite as well?
So which parts
so probably start how you got into martial arts, and then how that led on to, I guess, early business ventures.
Okay, I'll keep the story as quick as I can. Crazy 5-year-old kid, high levels of ADHD, all over the place. Parents trying to chase me around the world to get me to hold steady. grandma took me into a martial arts school one day, and it was like, phoom, I met my destiny. Nobody understood it. Right when I walked through the doors, when I was told how to stand, how to act, how to behave, you didn't have to tell me twice. My parents were shocked. Like, we've been trying to do this for 5 years. This kid walks in here, this guy in a uniform tells him to stand straight at attention, and boom, snap to it. Now, I would walk out and become crazy and then come back the next day and behave like I was the best kid in the world. Well, over time, that bled into the way I was behaving outside. So within a short period of time, I was a very disciplined kid. I was a crazy class clown, getting in trouble in class, but I was never directly disrespectful. I didn't see behaving crazily in class as being disrespectful to the teacher. You don't know that at 8. You just think you're making kids laugh, right? But I never talked back. I never insulted. I never cursed. Still to this day, I don't insult, curse, yell at people. It's just not my style. And I think that was a heavy lesson learned from martial arts in the early days. So moving the story along, I never stopped. I started at 5 years old and didn't retire out of the fight game until 2009.
Right.
I still train on the regular martial arts. I go to jiu-jitsu 5 days a week. So I'm not training kickboxing as much as I was, or traditional hapkido or kung fu as I was, but it's just evolved itself. It's still martial arts. So It's still in me. So now it's 40, we're coming 38 years later, and I haven't quit. Like, outside of going on vacation to a faraway land that I can't train, I never have taken, I went away for 6 months. I've always been training. So it was just naturally in me, right? That's what led me into, I guess you could say, going from the extreme sports world, meeting the people that opened the opportunity to get into the corporate side of the fight game. I was actually involved in the business side of it, right. Production, products, merchandising, and then that's where I met somebody who needed out of their commercialized martial arts locations, which was a perfect in, because I had left training in Los Angeles. I was doing a lot of fight training, and then all of a sudden I found myself in the corporate world in Florida, in the fight world, while still training martial arts, and then now I had an opportunity to be able to be an owner, and as you could call it, like a master instructor.
Right.
So it was just kind of like the natural progression. It was handed over to me, and so I made the jump, and I found myself where I knew I needed to be at that time in my life.
Right.
And so naturally that progressed me into training outside of the martial arts gym to keep my strength and conditioning inside the gym,
right.
and for tournaments and competitions. That's where I met somebody who was into functional fitness and doing CrossFit. They were a firefighter and a personal trainer. And as I was retiring out of the fight game and getting into these intense workouts, I thought, wow, this is so similar. The discipline, the commitment to the task at hand, what it takes to go through it. You're not fighting a human, but you're fighting the barbell, you're fighting the clock, you're fighting elements. And it was just a natural progression.
Right. And did you have gyms as what before in previously then?
So I had 5 martial arts schools in Florida, and then I individually started to sell them off when I knew it was time to move back to LA. It was just time.
Yeah.
My 9-year stint in South Florida was enough.
Yeah.
And moved back to LA, and I had about a year where I was just doing a lot of public speaking and kind of conversing with other corporate types on how to kind of follow what you're passionate about, and maybe your job isn't what you're passionate about, but it allows you to afford to do the things you're passionate about. So be passionate about that and infuse that into your workplace. And as that kind of, I don't want to say ran its course, but had seen its day, I knew it was time now to open up another physical structure. I knew that that's where I wanted to head to.
Yeah. So what would you say was one of the lessons? I guess that was probably your first standalone business venture then, the fight
that's
clubs.
Right.
So what would be one of the lessons that you learned from that you carried forward to your next stage?
Well, prior to that, when I was in the extreme sports industry, I actually owned a ski and snowboard manufacturing facility.
Oh.
And it was one of the few that was in the US. There was just me and K2 that was in Vashon Island in Washington. Very quickly, the industry blew up and there was 1,000 manufacturers, every garage, kind of like CrossFit, right? So that's why I said I'd seen similar industry trends. Same thing happened in martial arts, like with the UFC and Karate Kid and all this kind of stuff. It blew up and then it kind of caved in on itself, and certain people survived. So when you ask me like lessons learned, early on, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But what I learned when I went into the martial arts game was really managing more efficiently and properly, you could say, your finances. Because when I was in the extreme sports industry and I was 24 years old, if you made $1,000, you spent 1,500. I mean, that's just the way it worked. And then you would pay off the 500 with the next amount of money you made, because nobody was there to tell me different.
Right.
You know, and I think another lesson learned was take on a mentor. I didn't take one on. I just assumed through going to university and reading books, I'd figured it all out. Except they don't teach you what reality's all about at the university, right? The streets do. And so that's how I learned. So I took those lessons into the martial arts world. What did I learn in the martial arts world? I think that some of the bigger lessons I learned was people management. I was managing everybody off the hierarchy of protocol. You are required to respect me. Now, I never did anything to disrespect them, but I just assumed they had to respect me because of the belt.
Right.
Taking that lesson into here is, I'm not wearing a belt anymore. So now I want you to respect me for me, which I still had those personality traits back then, but they were masked by the belt and the uniform and maybe the title belts. That was my platform to stand on. Right. When you realize that that's just bullshit, that's medals, that's accolades, right? Now I want to stand on my core values, my passion, my purpose, and let my team be motivated by that and respect that and want me to mentor them and guide them as I've been mentored and guided. Right. So I think there's been stages in every success and every failure that I've had.
Yeah. So I guess you've had to change the way you think about, I suppose, even people, where it's, you know, you have to earn your, which I guess in martial arts in some ways you probably do earn your belt, but I guess it's a little bit more visual, and once you've got your belt, then you can demand respect. Right. Whereas in the real world, it's like, look, you know, fuck you, you know.
Yeah.
People won't do that, you know.
That's right. And now you get into a situation where your members don't have to respect you because of your accolades anymore, as they would in martial arts, right? In martial arts, they come to you if they know you're a good person with good morals and values. You can still have good morals and values and be kind of a dick, right? Does that make sense? Like, you can still be that. Like, we all have a friend or two that are just kind of assholes, but they're good people, if that makes sense, right? They just have a way that rubs people wrong, but their intention isn't bad. So now when I came in here, not only did my intention have to be right, but my presentation of it had to be right. I had to stand, as I mentioned, I had to stand on the platform of what I actually stand for and get them to believe in that. So when they came through the door and they saw the clean facility, they saw my passion, they saw me training, they saw me on the floor, they saw me furthering my education, they saw the way that I treat my staff, and they saw all these things, they go, wow, this is a great place, I want to be here.
Right, okay. So in terms of your business model now, I heard a saying that you made, and I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was something to do with, you know, a niche business and a mass business, and it was a nice saying. I remember it, but I didn't fully get what you had to say. So you know the statement.
Sure I do.
Tell me what it is.
Sure I do. You know, they say that if you're going to feed a lot of shit, you should at least know what it tastes like. Right. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, it was something else though. It was to do with.
No, I'll tell you the saying.
Oh, okay, go on.
So what you're saying, the way it goes is if you market to the niches,
that's it. Yes.
You end up in the ditches.
Yeah.
If you market to the masses, you end up in the upper classes.
Right. That was the one. Yeah.
Right.
And I listened to that, and because I've got my own business, and I've been in both camps, and it's like, well, how do you expand, and then you have these big companies that you're trying to compete with. We spoke earlier about some of the big brands. So how do you apply that to your business? Because from the outside, it's like, well, you've had your fight businesses, which are quite niche, and you obviously did very well, and you understood that community. Then you've kind of come into the CrossFit style, but you've kind of been innovative, and you've created, but you've sort of got this, I suppose, a little bit of a boutique feel in terms of you're not trying to be all things to all people. So how do you apply that to your business? And I guess, what do you actually mean by that statement?
Sure. And as with a lot of these statements, you've got to kind of take them with a little bit of humor, because they're meant to, as you kind of remember the statement, that's what they're meant for. Right. If it was just dry, it'd be lost and forgotten. So there's got to be a little humor to it and a little catchiness and kitschiness to make it stick. Yeah. And here's the real idea behind it. So yes, if you are a boutique I guess I'll explain it like this. If you opened up a Olympic lifting only facility, well, I'll use an analogy that's fitness specific. An Olympic only training facility, at least from what I know, and I'm pretty in tune with the industry, there's maybe like 3 successful Olympic only lifting facilities I know of in the United States. And by success, I don't even know if they make money. By success, I mean I know they've been open now for like 5, 6, 7 years, right? So I don't actually know how well they do. I think 1 or 2 of them do a lot of online programming and coaching, so they probably make it work. Because that is so niche, it's hard to expand your reach. How do you cast a wide net to people that want general physical preparedness to get them into just doing Olympic lifting? Because unless you're adding a fitness component to it, and by fitness I mean higher repetitions, you're getting more into the cardiovascular component to it, how do you create general fitness out of it? It's hard.
Right.
If all you do is teach snatch and clean and jerk, snatch and clean and jerk. Now, if you take the snatch and clean and jerk and you trim down the technicalities of them and make them a little easier to understand and learn and build them into the repertoire of what you have, you're now in a more massed, wide net casted space,
right,
which would be functional fitness. Now you say we're still boutique really based on size and the number of members, but we're not boutique in the fact that really anybody who wants to get fit can come to BRIC because we have something for them.
right.
We offer yoga several days a week, mobility classes several days a week. We've got a cardio kickboxing component here. We've got a boot camp, high interval intensity training in the back rooms. We've got our functional fitness, or kind of traditional, what you would believe is like a CrossFit methodology with BRIC's twist to it. We offer B-Body, which is like your traditional style bodybuilding class, your pushes, your pulls, your bench by chest, try, shoulder, legs days,
right,
type of thing, because with proper coaching, you can do what's similar to personal training or doing your own workout in a group of people. Why
right,
not?
Yeah,
Who's to say that bodybuilding is not good for you?
yeah,
It may not be the center of what people believe is functional fitness, but it's still part of fitness. It still develops, breaks down, and regrows muscle fiber. So when you say niches in the ditches, masses, upper classes, that's how I look at it from a fitness standpoint, you know, and also opening your mind. People say, but, you know, the people that own Rolls Royce are wealthy. And I say, actually, there's quite a few boutique, niche, high-end brands that don't succeed.
yeah,
Or they're actually owned by larger IP companies that cover all the classes.
right,
Right? Like, I think Louis Vuitton is owned by, you know, I don't want to state anything incorrectly, but they're owned by a company that owns like Target level brands all the way up to the most expensive.
right.
I mean, isn't even Rolls-Royce now owned by Chrysler or something like that? So you could say, well, Rolls-Royce, no, they're owned by a massive car manufacturing company that makes a $12,000 vehicle to a $600,000 vehicle, because even they've recognized they need something for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And I guess with your, from what you're doing with your brand then, I guess you've got a distinctive place in the market. So you have got, I guess, a style and values, and people kind of understand what you stand for, which is a little bit quirky and edgy and innovative. But I suppose you're then sort of saying, well, you know, if you fit into this big box here of, you know, following that, then we can provide you with all of these things down there. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because one thing you don't want to mistake is masses as not being premium.
Right.
Because you can still go to a big box store like a Bevmo for liquor and buy top shelf premium brand liquor.
Right.
You can still go to department stores and buy premium brands.
Yeah.
So it exists. It's just a matter of how you package it and how you promote it.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. And so where do you go for your, I guess, growth and development? You mentioned it's important to get a mentor. Do you get these ideas from this mentor? Do you go out and learn and read? How do you sort of keep yourself on the edge with your business and your personal development?
All the above. You know, in the younger years, a lot of it was by Jim Rohn and Stephen Covey and Tony Robbins, and kind of catching the train of that, what was known back then, really the name was the motivational speaker, right? Some of them hate to be called that now. But to understand what it takes to be a motivational speaker, which was really just what it takes to be able to speak. You and I might have different ways that we deliver a message publicly, but at least from what I gather is we could both go publicly and speak. One may be better than the other to that particular audience, but at least we can go up there and try to concisely and correctly communicate an idea. And so that was my first step, was to learn how to do that at a younger age, because I wanted to be taken more seriously early on in business and not fumble around with words or sound stupid, which I still don't try to get caught up in wordplay. I'm not a wordsmith. I don't have big sexy words. But it was important to get that in my arsenal. And then from there, it was, okay, I've read every self-help, every self-realization, every, Way the Silent Warrior, The Peaceful Warrior, and all those books, right? 48 Laws of Power and Understanding Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And now it was like, okay, I've got those tools that I can pull from, but now I want to watch the best. So now I want to go back to Tony Robbins, and I don't want to read what he's trying to preach to me. I want to just watch him. I'm going to go spend X thousands of dollars to sit front row, and I'm going to go early and stay late, and I'm going to watch. When he's on the left side of the stage, what is he speaking? Is it negative or positive undertones? When he's on the right side, I want to learn about all that. When he's in the middle, why is this song playing right now? Why did it just turn, why is the lighting dimming, coming up, turning blue hues? I wanted to take in all of that. Even in his, I'm not sure if you've been.
Yeah, I've done a lot of his stuff.
So it's, understand, it's a rock concert, right? And I'm not trying to promote this to whoever's listening to this, but certainly it's worth a look. It's like if the Beatles were still around, you would tell somebody, you should probably go see them, right? They're in your neighborhood, you should probably buy a ticket. It's kind of the same thing. And so you go watch him and you show up early and you realize it's a whole production. The way he gets you into the state, the people that are clapping before you even walk in the building, the way that they're greeting you, the seating that he has, the setup, everything is part of the experience.
Right.
And you go, okay, I get it. He's trying to sell you and there's going to be an upsell, but he's going to make sure you leave with value. Maybe it's a hook to get you to come back, but take all that in. Because as long as you acquire all the information, you can use all of it for either good or evil. That's up to you.
Right.
That's what I tell people. If you're great at persuading, then at least hopefully you're using your powers for good, not evil.
Yeah.
Because my job is to persuade people to work out. Could be worse. I'm not asking them to give me their firstborn.
Right. And with mentors, is that what you mean, or do you have a person that you pick up the phone and it's like, look, I'm struggling with this. What do you think? Do you do that as well?
So when I was in the martial arts world, I had that. I had actual phone contact with mentors. And every month we would meet at a select location with a lot of other owners, and we would have round tables and open forums and share best practices. And then when I first got into this business, I had a couple that I was still communicating with and sharing ideas with, and then as I've kind of grown on, now I have other affiliate owners or functional fitness center owners or just people that are really successful in business that are kind of like counterparts, which is kind of neat, and now we can share. And even though I may look at them as a superior, they kind of look at me with a similar respect in what I specialize in, and now both of us being material experts, we can share.
Right.
And
do you think, is that something that you, as well as yourself, is that something that you have with the team and the other people who run your different facilities?
Yeah, with some of them. It's not, the culture today with social media is really difficult to get back to that world because there's so much information at their fingertips. They don't understand why they need to, it's so hard to capture anybody's attention for more than 2 or 3 minutes at best. So now to say, wait, we're going to capture one person that's going to help kind of direct and guide you, they just think, why? There's so much out there. It's like with fitness protocols. They'll look at Cal Dietz's, triphasic methods, and then tomorrow they're on Windler, and the next day they're on, West Coast barbell, and the next week they're on X, Y, and Z. It's like they're all over the place.
Right.
When it should be like, hey, take somebody who's going to tell you to learn about all that, but hone it in, hone your craft. Yeah. I'm really, I sit pretty proud to say that somebody who's very well respected in our industry, who's become one of my closest friends, Jason Kalipa, I can just use him as a reference name, is somebody that I can pick up the phone and we'll have the best time shooting the shit about business where he may not even know that something he's saying is hitting home, and I'm going, wow, I need to go back and do that.
Right.
And I'm doing that for him. And we've pieced each other's businesses apart and helped put them back together. And you do it with high levels of respect, right? Because you know the intention is there.
Right. And staying on social media, what was your thoughts on social media and how you use it in the business? Because when you started, it wasn't around like it was. It didn't. So I guess your marketing was very different then to what it is now. Tell me how you use it, and is it important? And what should other businesses that are probably a little bit still stuck in the old world? Is it something they should be doing?
Yeah, so that's like one of those things where people are like, oh, I should have invested in Apple 20 years ago. I look at Instagram, and I remember the first post I ever did was just down the street at the coffee shop because people had been telling me about it. And one of the things I always learned was you should own your name. So like on Instagram when it came out, I got my name. On URLs, you get your name. Like, you should own your name. Little did I know that it should have been like, Pootie P Duty Boop. I would have had 10 million followers, and we would be having a conversation about something else, right? I wouldn't have a fitness center. I'd be at home, like, unwrapping bubble gum and having 10 million YouTube followers making 500 grand a month. But unfortunately, I'm the asshole who didn't see that opportunity. I remember seeing it and being like, who does this? Who wants to walk around and take photos and share it with people? How dumb is this? Meanwhile, I want to go back and punch that guy in the dick. Like, you idiot. Couldn't you see the signs? It's like, no, I couldn't, man. Damn it, I was too busy in the gym. So anyways, to make a little humor on it, it's how it's evolved to a point, and now there are some companies who literally they lean on it for their success. There's so many people who lean on it for their success, and some of that's a little frustrating to me, because it's every once in a while you do see somebody with quite a bit of influence who promotes the idea that telling kids and people who are addicted to it, because it really has become almost like an addiction. Hey, understand that this is a highlight reel. You're seeing a highlight reel. You don't see all of the stuff that's stirring. It's like, here you are following this person. You want to be just like this person? Poof, they commit suicide tomorrow. Because you didn't see. They were just showing the highlight reel. Now, I use a pretty exaggerated analogy to impress a point, is that it should be a tool. It shouldn't be the boat you float on, right? It just should be a tool. And we use it to promote what we do here in more of a focused type of situation. We try to make it more focused, where it's not all over the place. It's not a coach going to buy organic produce to show that kind of stuff. It's not somebody snatching 1,000 pounds. We try to really keep it focused on what the purpose of it is for us. It's not a heavy marketing tool, but we use it to keep ourselves relevant in the public's eye. It's a means of product promotion. That's it for us. It's all we want it to do. Now, for as let's say an influencer in the fitness industry, I didn't use it as a tool to gather more followers. I never did. Do I regret it? I don't know. I've done all right without it. Would I like to have 300, 400,000 followers because then I could do more with that? I can do more good? Sure. I'll always want that. But I think I stated it to one of you, is the biggest issue now is with all this information. If you're an originator and you've created original content, there are people out there that are actually professional ninjas in regurgitating. So I always say, are you an originator or are you a regurgitator? Right? Now, it's not to say that you don't have the opportunity in America to fairly make a good living and do well for yourself off of regurgitating someone else's product, right? They say, what is it, like cheap plagiarism is the biggest form of flattery?
Yeah, I struggle with it because we get a lot of people knocking off our stuff, but
Sure, that's what they say, which to me I believe is a bunch of horseshit, right? I feel as if you should be able to take something, let it inspire you to innovate off of that and then create your own version. But to just simply take it, replicate it, and then go throw it out.
Sometimes even not quite as good as the original.
Not quite. Yeah, I mean, it's annoying. Is it legal and fair? Yeah. But does it sit well? Probably not with most. And so that becomes a little bit bothersome, especially in the world that I'm so closely connected to, which is health and wellness. Let's not just use fitness, like health and wellness. Because you see people gaining tens of thousands of followers because they're actually utilizing the wrong core values with someone else's content to capture followers. Like all you did was just put up someone else's motivational quote and a video to it, it's not even your quote. Like, create your own quotes.
Yeah.
And do the work, do the legwork. But nowadays, people can get the jump start. And okay, it's fair. I don't sit around like hammering nails into the wall, into people's faces like, you son of a bitch. I just think that with that platform, I would like to see these people focusing more on honing in their skills of original content, and then inspiring the next generation to innovate off of that original content, and then regurgitate a more innovative original as opposed to just regurgitate.
Yeah.
What's your version of it? It's like coffee. There's a billion coffee shops, but you're not going to open up Starbucks. You got to have a little nook and niche to your thing. It's still coffee, so that's to the masses. But what's your little interior kind of quirky thing that you do? And I like to see that. Then you see the one that does it well, and they're still opening and thriving, even with Starbucks, with Blue Bottle and all these other concepts. The one from Australia that just came over that's opening up like crazy now. I like that. Yeah. That's what I like to see.
And you're a true entrepreneur, and with social media, you see a lot of these stories and courses where people get rich quick. 6, 9, 12 months, you can go from zero to making a lot of money. And I get, there's a lot of people that are on the beginning of their career or business journey. What's your thoughts about being able to make it, build a brand quick, get rich quick? What's your experience in that?
I believe there's always going to be people who are fortunate to strike oil, to get in at Bitcoin when it was 10 cents. There's always going to be those, right? And that's fair. All is fair in love and war, right? It's your opportunity in being in America. But the issue, and again tying into social media, is because it's so promoted that it's like everybody can get it, that nowadays you get people that come in and they'll intern with you for 6 months in fitness and they think they're ready to open up their own location. That never existed when you and I were younger. The idea was go learn your craft, become a master of your craft. Blood, sweat, and tears sprawled across your craft. And then, under the good fortune, you might have the opportunity to be your own boss in providing that product, whatever it might look like, right? Yeah. And nowadays, it's like that, They come in, they read a few things, they do an online course, they watch a few videos, poof. They get money from a friend, they open up across the street. Now again, it's legal, it's fair, it just doesn't seem to be working well for some, right? And then when they go back to social media influence, they're like, well, how come it's not working that way? Yeah. Because that way didn't work the way you worked. The person you're watching might have had 20 years before they stumbled on how to get on. Like all these people that are on Instagram who are maybe in our age group that are you seeing thriving, succeeding, they obviously did something else for 20 years prior. Because if they're over 40 on Instagram, they did something else 10 years ago before it ever came out. Yeah. So they were honing craft. They were forced to.
Yeah. And you work and consult with a lot of entrepreneurs. How long do you generally see people that come into it from fresh to build up an idea? What sort of time period is it? Like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? What's your experience been on that?
Oh man, I see so much. I see people that have come in, and because of their background, we had a member who, in a friendly situation, left to go open their own location, but they had a lot of success in business prior. They had a great understanding of branding. They really knew the idea of good quality customer service and delivering a great product. And they copied a lot of what we did in back-end systems and operations while adding their own framework to it. Right. So they used the foundation, I guess you could say the principles of what I did, but they originated their own content, their own brand, their own look, their own feel. You could walk in there and go, I can see the influences here, but you don't walk in there and go, oh, this is BRIC. Yeah. You could, and to me that's more flattering. Yeah. Oh, you took the principles and it worked for you. It means, hey, I need to go open more locations because I have the right ingredients. Yeah. Let me go do more. And it worked for them. I've also seen people try to go do it right, but you can miss one component and crash on yourself. I've seen people go and open, and it took them 2 years to figure it out and a lot of money, and then they start to see the kickback into success. And so really, I don't know what my message is to leave with future potential affiliate owners, other than I always make this joke when I do seminars and people say, if there's one piece of advice you could give me before I get into this business and open my own location, what would it be? And I always say this. I say, take all the money you're about to invest in this business in the next year. Take all of it. Put 50% of it in the bank, right? Take the other 50% and go to Vegas and choose your color. Because that is the odds you're dealing with. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you your buyback insurance on whether the dealer has blackjack or not. So you get to put 50 of it back. The other 50, that's what it is. It's a total dice roll. And as the industry continues to grow, it's even less certain.
Yeah.
What are you doing that's filling a void in the marketplace, or something so unique on top of, or so much better on top of what's already succeeding, that you're gonna acquire some of the market share?
Right.
What are you doing? And nowadays, because of how easy it is to get into this industry, anybody can do it, which is great. I love that idea.
Yeah.
My message would be, do your research. Become a material expert in the craft, right? Go take on the burden of learning this the hard way, as you were talking with me earlier, like from ground up.
Right, yeah.
Go learn what it takes to wash towels and the importance of that. Why do I need to? Because I want you to see the importance of clean towels for the members when they walk in the door.
Yeah. And I guess you're, even though, relatively short period of time you've had BRIC, doing the tour and then even listening to your stories about martial arts and the discipline, although it's probably been, 9 or 10 years here, it sounds like that the sort of 10 years previously were all sort of adding up, and the experience you had about the finance person, the property, all of those bits, although they weren't in the same business, that was all sort of adding up to, to your overnight success, those 10 years prior.
That's right. And if you ask me, hey JP, were there certain events that occurred at BRIC when you first opened that really helped kind of propel you into greater fame as a location and notoriety? And I could name a few of them. And the real, I guess, lesson learned on that, though, was it's because of the 35 years at that time that 30 years I'd already spent in martial arts, committed to health and wellness and education of how to deal with people and how to communicate and how to speak publicly and how to handle and operate my business, that I was ready for those events when they occurred. So, when I talk about luck, preparation meets opportunity, like, they existed for me.
Right.
Yeah. And I some of these events I just see as clear as day. I mean, even as much as gathering my friends who we first opened with and being ready physically to go compete and qualify for the CrossFit Games. Having a membership base that was ready and believed in me enough and believed in the product and the pageantry of the product that they were willing to drive out to Del Mar or to Irvine and all wear orange shirts and orange tutus, and we had a whole thing we did.
Yeah.
But they were behind it.
Yeah.
Because if we just had 200 people show up in regular t-shirts, the experience wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah. And I guess to get those people to believe in you is you probably take it for granted. Oh yeah, we had a bunch of people, but that's a challenge in itself. Lots of people own gyms and they've not got that community of people that believe in them and want to be part of something. So.
That's right, because the more group support you have, the more support you have.
Yeah.
The more support you have, the bigger the building is you can build on top of it.
Right.
And if you got 20 people that are diehard fans, it's tough.
Yeah.
But when you got 200, you can move mountains.
Yeah.
And so that is really important.
So at the moment, you've got how many facilities have you got?
So right now there's 7 locations in the United States.
Right.
There's 2 licensed partners in Spain, both owned by the same individual out there. Several of the locations that are in the United States are licensed partners, or they're a mix of license equity.
Right.
Whether I'm an owner and it's a licensed deal. And I'm in the process of weaning myself into just sheerly a licensed-based company.
Right.
It's the model I want to stand behind, it's the opportunities I want to provide my people, and it's really how I want to promote the product.
Right, okay. So in terms of, have you got a goal in terms of number of facilities that you want to have one day, and over what period?
Yeah, so right now we're at 7 in the US. I would like to double that in 2019. I'm in a position where there might be 8 or 9 open before we even get into 2019. So really, if you ask me what the shoot for the moon goal was, or if you said shoot for the stars, end up on the moon, the shooting for the stars goal would be at 20 by the end of 2019, with potentially 5 to 10 leases already signed and licensed partners going into 2020.
Right.
Because that's where I'd like to see it.
Right. And what do you think is one of your biggest hurdles to overcome to sort of get to where you want to go then, would you say?
I think it's, you say, well, JP, with 7 locations, you've already proved concept, right? You've proved proof of concept. And I said, no, I still believe we can polish it even further. And so I've spent the last 8 to 10 months focused solely on the operational package that we give future license owners. And so by investing all that time and energy, I've retrained myself on becoming a master of my own business. So now to go out and educate others to open and have real manuals and systems for them, we're ready.
Right.
And I know now comfortably that we can scale this out. We can scale this out and give each potential license owner the tools needed to succeed, barring unforeseen situations. Like, you can't guarantee anything, right? You just can't.
Yeah. So before my last question then, what are the products and services and offerings you do? I know you mentioned consultancy, but just tell us a little bit about, if people are interested in finding out more, what options they got and how can they find you?
Sure. So for the JP upsell right now, so for the upsell, it's a couple things. First off, obviously, if you're in an area where there exists a BRIC, I'd love you to come in and check the product out, right? Throw a comment on this video cast. If there's a comment section, let them go try one and send a comment, or email me at jp@bric.fit, very easy, BRICK.fit, JP. And as far as products that we're offering, if you're a potential functional fitness owner or somebody who wants to get into functional fitness, we have licensing available. Hit me up at that email address. It's me that you're going to get. It's not a sales team. We're going to talk, decide if the partnership's right for each other. It's got to work for me. It's got to work for you. I'd like to shake your hand, have a cup of coffee, and make sure that this is going to be a great, cohesive, synergistic group to move forward with, so that it's a relationship and not a relationship, as we call it in my seminars. And
you're looking at any markets, like anywhere internationally?
Any market. We can operate from a single floor studio that could be 2,000 square feet all the way up into massive facilities.
Right.
And we'll model it out, make sure the numbers work and the return on revenue works for you, and we decide if it's the right way to go. The second thing is I do very selective consulting. It's, again, based on the partnership, what type of goals you have, what your outlook is, kind of what your purpose is for what you're doing, and where your business is at. I'm going to be the first person to tell you that based on my review, you may be helpless. Doesn't mean you pull the plug, it just means that's how I feel. And I'm allowed to feel that way. And I always say I care enough not to care. It means I care enough about your potential well-being that I don't care if I hurt your feelings. Because you're coming to me, so I'm going to give you my feedback.
And tell you how it is.
I'm going to just tell you how it is. Based on the numbers, you're going to continue to be almost broke or broke for the next X time. Do you want to live that? Do you want to have a second job and continuously feed this machine that you can't break away from your other job? You can't afford to break away to get this successful.
Right.
Or you just opened up in a shitty neighborhood or a bad location, or you have a terrible lease. And so for consulting, yeah, I'm absolutely available.
Right.
I have a handful of clients. I'm happy to say that of all the clients that have been with me, that have stuck by my side, that have gone through the program, all see gains.
Right.
And they're all still either successfully owning their locations or have sold them for a profit. Right. So to me, that's a win.
Yeah, excellent. So in terms of locations, you're in Chelsea, New York?
Yeah, so there's a BRIC in Chelsea, New York on 17th Street.
Right.
There is one on 46th in Lexington, up by Grand Central Station in Midtown East, I guess would call it, Midtown East. There's one in South Houston called Pearland, Texas, which is about 35 minutes south of Houston, a suburban neighborhood. We've got one in the center of Boston, in like the finance market, right 6 minutes from the last stop on the train into the FIDI. It's an awesome location, very unique, right in the arts district. There's the theater district right there. It's a really cool space. That's one of the original licensed partners that we opened. There's one in Chicago, what they call the Central Loop, over by, if anybody's familiar out there with Chicago, it's by where the Bean is and the Art Institute. There's one there. And then make sure I don't forget any of the locations. There's one in Northern California in the East Bay in a cute little town called Pleasanton, which isn't really a tier 1 city, kind of like Pearland is, but it's tier 1 as far as the suburban style neighborhood. It's tier 1 in the demographics that are there.
Right.
And let's see if we covered it. And then you've got Spain, in Zaragoza, Spain, and in Santiago de Compostela, which is on the west side of Spain near a town or in an area they call Galicia.
Right.
So we've got that covered, and make sure I covered them all. Boom, 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 boom. Chicago, I mentioned Chicago. Yeah, we got them all.
Yeah, fantastic.
And hopefully you'll see. I would say maybe next up on the map would be South Florida, Miami. I could see Atlanta happening very soon if the birds are chirping correctly. Possibly somewhere in the Philadelphia area.
Right.
So,
fantastic.
if the rumor mill has any rightness to it, that might be where we see it.
Right. So final question, Escape Your Limits is about escaping what either you've previously told yourself is impossible or other people that have said that's not possible. What would be an example of you escaping your own personal limits and doing something you didn't think you could do?
Physically or from a financial standpoint?
Whatever.
Well, so I think I'll just give you a quick on both.
Yeah.
So physically, being a Latin Jewish kid from the San Fernando Valley, never would there be an expectation, and coming from a family that's not very athletically fit or athletically talented for that matter, to be able to excel at the highest levels of the stand-up fight game and in the martial arts world would be something in the farthest from the spectrum of anyone ever assuming I could achieve. So even as I was going through it, as I excelled to the next level, it was always disbelief and the assumption that that would be the end all.
Right.
Oh, JP made it to junior nationals. That's great. That'll be it for him. Oh, he's off to college. He's never gonna, go to a world-based tournament in kickboxing. Then that happens. He'll never win it, then he wins it. He'll eventually lose. I don't lose. I stay undefeated. So those hurdles, those expected limiting beliefs that were imposed on me only motivated me to just be more of a short, psychotic, committed, nutbag in the gym to put in the extra work and to polish every technique so it was perfect, right? I didn't want to do 10 jump spinning back kicks. I wanted to do 1,000 until I landed it every time I threw it. That was the mentality. So that was one way of escaping my limits. They were physical limits by just sheer raw talent that God put into me, and then they were limits by just beliefs that others had in me.
Right.
I believe I was able to escape them. Then my own, when getting into business, I always knew I wanted to be successful in some fashion, not just financially, but with large interested groups and people that would take me seriously and would listen to what I have to say. And I would always tell myself, like, oh, I'm too young now. I need to read 10 more books. I always had these limiting beliefs that I would impose on myself, hurdles to overcome. And really it was, communicating with one of my mentors who cared enough not to care. And it was like, when you stop believing your own bullshit and actually start only believing in your bullshit. And I was like, wait, wait a minute. What'd you just say? You just told me not, and then you told me, and it was just like smack me across the face and be like, listen to what I'm trying to say to you. Stop believing in that, but start believing in what you can actually deliver, right? You have a message, you have a voice. Look, there's people that actually want to follow your lead. There's people that want to be on side of you, and there's people that want to actually surpass you. If they want to pass you, it means that they see something they need to achieve and get past. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. And it was really, I feel like at that moment, when I was in the martial arts world, that I was able to take myself to not just being a student of the game, but I could become a teacher in the game.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a really kind of cool point. And I still feel like I'm always going to be a student of the game.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that I can kind of put the notepad and pencil down, and every once in a while I get up in front of class and teach the game as well.
Yeah.
One of the biggest, most impactful statements on the financial world of success and wealth that also has kind of a state of mind to it, that one of my best friends in the whole world said to me who's also strangely one of my mentors really to this day. We've been through all the Tony Robbins together. We've been through it all. And he's such a unique individual. And I remember we used to always say when we were 19 and 20, we were kicking and punching, we were in martial arts together. We're always like, oh, we're gonna be millionaires one day. We're gonna be millionaires one day. And we used to sit in the sauna when we were cutting weight, and we would just be screaming at the top of our lungs. We would do crazy stuff, but it's like affirmations. We'd be screaming, we will be rich. And I'm not trying to be a religious guy right now, but just to be truthful, the statement we would say is, God will make us rich. We would fucking scream this at the top of our lungs. And what's crazy is, I was kind of a tough guy. You do that for 5 or 6 minutes with your best pal, if you don't feel good about yourself when you come out of there, you're fucking dead inside. We would come out ready to take on a gorilla of anything. So he made millions early, right? And he worked his ass off. He was the type of kid who went to college on no scholarship and then was told, hey, if you're in the 99th percentile, you get a full ride. And he was like, well, then that's what I got to do. Boom, he did it, full ride. I got to go to law school because with that, I can go to the corporate world. Boom, he did it. Like, he was that guy. And so building up to the stories, he made his millions, and we were talking, and I'm like, yeah, man, but I'm not a millionaire yet. And he said that to me about 15 years ago. I was like, yeah, man, I'm just not a millionaire yet. And he goes, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, oh God, here comes some Tony Robbins speech. Like, I'm gonna be my own negative nanny, right? To my own shit, to my own voice. And he goes, what are you talking about, bro? I'm like, well, dude, you've made tens of millions. Like, I haven't made my millions yet. He goes, that's fucking bullshit, man. You are a millionaire. You just haven't gone and collected the check yet. So get off the fucking phone and start figuring out where that check is and go get it, man. Because you're a millionaire. You're a multi-millionaire. You're gonna be richer than I am. And I was like, what the God, you're right. And it's, but I kept that statement in my head, and I try to share it with others. It's like, there's books out there, The Millionaire Mindset and that kind of stuff. And it really is, you really have to believe it. Yeah. You've gotta believe that you have the rights to it. And it's so crazy that I remember that statement. I remember the phone call when he said it to me. Being on the phone, I was like, yeah, man, but I just haven't made my millions yet. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're a millionaire, bro. You just haven't gone and gotten the check. And I was like, you're right, there is a check. I have to believe there are checks out there. I have to believe people will write me the checks. Now I've just got to create the products and the means.
Yeah.
And so I guess going back onto social media is now taking a short story and making it longer. But you talk about social media is, at least I knew I had to go create something.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays, people just assume it's going to be created for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they can just go on social media and spit off a bunch of shit and that'll create it. It's like, no, you still need to have some sort of viable product for the most part.
Yeah.
And as we even opened up this whole conversation, there will be the 1% that are gonna create an app at 19 and become billionaires.
Yeah.
But the 99 need to understand that in reality, it could happen tomorrow, or it could happen in 30 years. The question is, when are you gonna relent and give up, or do you always just stay chin down, hands up?
And I think that's the thing, it's in most cases, you've got to expect that it's not going to be easy, and it is going to take you, as we said, sort of 10, 20, 30 years to do it, and kind of get your head around that look, if I want to do this, I'm going to do it. It's going to take a long time. I'm not going to give up, and I'm just going to keep going until I get there. But as you said, I'm happy doing it, and I think and I've been in that place of you've been doing it, and you're not totally happy. And you're not where you are, and it's like, well, what the hell am I doing? So I think if you can actually make those decisions, say, look, I'm enjoying it, and I'm on my way, and I'm not there, but I'm not going to stop. I think that's probably, a great place, a great life that you can live, I guess.
Yeah, being in LA, kind of the fortunate and unfortunate is I have friends who were agents, right, like in the industry, and I was talking not that long ago to one of my buddies, and we were going through names of people we knew that got into the industry, as they should, right out of college, and they start as, they start in the mailroom, and then they go into whatever it is to junior assistant, to whatever, right, and go to a desk, and however it works. And I asked him, I was like, yeah, what happened to so-and-so? What happened to so-and-so? What happened to so-and-so? And then I asked him, I was like, hey man, what do you think the difference was between you and X? Because we knew X, and he was destined to be the world's greatest agent. And he goes, here's the difference, man. I never quit. I took the punches, and it's like so cliche to hear that.
Yeah.
But he's like, I weathered it out. he's 43. He goes, at 34, when some of the kids at 30, 29, 28 accelerated to higher levels at the desk and better clients, I just kept my head down. And now he's already done so well that he's not even an agent anymore. He's in management and he's producing, and he's killing it. And you're like, wow, some of these other guys, they just faded.
Yeah.
They got knocked out early, And then I know that we talk about happiness, and now he's thrilled. He's got beautiful kids. He lives a great life, and I asked him, like, were you happy? He's like, yes, because I knew it was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So because I knew that, I had expectations. I knew I was going to be getting donuts and fetching coffee and picking up people's suits. And you're like, okay, you were okay with the expectations. And then I have another friend who, is in the industry, and so, you sit back and talk, and he's very successful financially, and you ask him, it's like, he just sits around and hates it. And I want to look at him, I don't want to, I do look at him at times and ask him, why are you doing this if you're not happy? And the answer's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm stuck, and if I go anywhere else, people will look at me as a failure. And I'm like, wow, like you're stuck because of other people's perceptions, when tomorrow it could be gone.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow the one person who you're worried about, or the 6 people, could be fucking dead. And you lived your whole life for them, and they're dead. Or you lived your whole life for them and you're dead. Yeah, everybody loses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I think you've got to get the balance of, sometimes you've got to make the decision for what you're happy with, and be prepared that, you're not going to have everything. And I guess, probably people look at others, and we said about the Instagram, you look at them, you think, oh, well, they've got the great life, but, maybe they have all that, but they're not happy and they don't have what they want. And I guess if you can kind of get that balance between doing, being able to do what you love, get up every day and love what you're doing, and be happy. I heard a podcast the other day, the word was sort of, content but driven. I don't know, it's sort of two contrasts, where you're totally content but still driven to do more. If you can be there, then that's probably a good place.
What my mentor says, which is that exact statement, he says, it's okay to be happy, but don't be satisfied.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because if you're satisfied, it's like if you're at the table eating and you're satisfied, you stop eating.
Right.
So don't be satisfied, because then you stop working hard. But be happy.
Yeah.
Because then you can do it forever and not feel like you wasted your years.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, this has really been the focus, especially sadly, we just lost somebody in the CrossFit world at a young age who battled cancer for 8 months. Was close to us, and I was very close with her, and it was like in a matter of, went into remission, a week later it came back, and in a matter of 3 weeks dead. And you're like, how the fuck does that happen? But then you say to yourself, like, there's so much more to this than having a bunch of, Lamborghinis in your driveway and strippers at your house. Or maybe there's not for you, right? Like maybe that's your happiness, and that's okay. I'm not gonna judge it, like if that's yours. But I need to go find mine.
Yeah.
And if that is mine, then I need to go get it. Yeah. But if mine's, owning an island, what am I doing to get there?
Yeah.
Because it's not just gonna show up. Nobody's gonna hand me one that I know of.
No, that's right. Things can change. It's going to happen to all of us. I guess sometimes you think that sometimes we can think we're immortal and it will go on forever, but it won't. So
the clock moves.
Yeah, very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, and like without becoming cynical or sad or having like unhappy thoughts, you just have to really recognize that. And that's been more, I guess, as I get older.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you start to realize you start losing people.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy, even at 43. Yeah. You basically lose a friend to a stroke. You lose a friend in the middle of the day at their home gym to a heart attack. You're like, what the fuck? And then you think like, holy shit, man. Yeah. When they say live your best life and live it today, like you kind of have to. You can't give up responsibilities, or actually you can, you just have to take the repercussions that come with it.
That's right. Yeah.
So like if you want to go and just live in Tibet and work for peanuts, you can do it, but just be happy living the life on peanuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be happy with what you're doing, and I guess you sort of own it as well, rather than sort of do it, and even if it's not what you think is the right thing, so okay, well if you're hanging out doing nothing, then just own it, that's your life and you're happy and you want to get on with it. Because I think some people are, they probably are doing something that they kind of like, but they don't own it and maybe think others don't like it, so they're in this unhappy place, even though that's probably where they want to be.
Yeah, I remember being at a really cool bar in Mexico once, and I was talking to the dude that was working behind the bar, and I was like, man, how long you been out here for? Like, what's your deal? And he goes, man, I moved out here like 20 years ago. I've been out here. And he had a great story of his background and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, did you just cash out on like a couple $1,000,000 and move to Mexico to work in a bar? He goes, no, man, it was the exact opposite. He's like, I didn't want to chase millions of dollars. He's like, actually what I wanted to chase is right here, and it costs nothing. Clear blue water, being my toes in the sand. I have a place that's affordable for rent, that is a warm roof or a cold roof, whichever one I need. I can afford nice meals every day. There's constant tourism here with money coming in. I know people that come back on a regular, so they like seeing me. I'm a good guy. It's fun times. Like, I have a life here. People look forward to coming to this bar because I'm going to be here, and they come back with their families, and it's a restaurant. It's a whole thing. And I was like, "You're right, man."
Yeah.
He's like, "So what? I don't need millions to be happy. This is what I want."
Yeah.
You know? And now my best buddy, he's got a boat. We can go fishing every day, and you know people on the island, and like everybody helps each other.
Yeah.
We all do. We're like, wow, yeah, you're as rich
Living
as
your dream. Yeah.
You're as rich as you need to be.
Yeah, that's right. Well, JP, a great example and a great story. You built a fantastic business. I'm very inspired, and really, you know, the message that's come over to me is that, you know, it's not been easy, and you know, through a lot of hard work, you've been able to build something pretty fantastic, and I'm sure that whatever your goals are going forward, you're going to achieve them. Not through luck, but you know, a lot of that sort of hard work and sweat that you put into getting to where you are. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate that.
Thanks, JP.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.